Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. Dolores County Broadcasting Network is the producer of DCTV, and the Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news show.
If you have a news topic or tips you'd like to see covered, give us a call. The studio number is 677-4119.
Today's show is live on Wednesday at noon and rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m. and again re-aired on Saturday at noon, 3 and 6.
Coming up, more on the red wine arrest, Navajo's sacred lands, and more.
And also flood advisories and more on our weather, Sheriff's Roundup, and area happenings. Today is July 26, 2017, and now the news at noon. From the Durango Herald, 3 La Plata County Sheriff's investigators were on their way to intercept Mark Redwine's truck late Friday or early Saturday as it drove through Washington State to New York. But unexpectedly, Redwine's rig was turned around at a weigh station for being overweight, not an uncommon situation for truckers. He was forced to return to Bellingham, Washington, where his trailer would be reloaded. Because of the turnaround of his truck being overweight, the investigators, were out of position by about 6 hours in order to assist directly in that arrest. La Plata County Sheriff Sean Smith said Tuesday at a news conference held in Durango to discuss the indictment and arrest of Redwine, who is suspected of killing his 13-year-old son Dylan in November of 2012. By the time investigators arrived, Redwine had exercised his right to speak to an attorney, preventing investigators from questioning him. Body cameras worn by Bellingham police show Redwine stepping out of his semi and lying on the ground. This is on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page. After officers read him his Miranda rights, a sergeant informs Redwine he is being held in connection with an arrest warrant from Colorado accusing him of second-degree murder. Redwine said, "I have no idea what that's about." Investigators named Redwine a person of interest almost 2 years ago, but he has denied any wrongdoing. In an interview Tuesday, Dylan's mother, Elaine Hall, said she's no longer surprised by what her ex-husband says. She wanted Tuesday to be about her son. Smith and 6th Judicial District Attorney Christian Champagne confronted questions about why it took 4.5 years to indict and arrest Redwine in connection with his son's death. It has been a repeated question from friends and community members who have watched the case closely. Champagne said patience was critical in the investigation to ensure a successful trial. He described the evidence as cumulative, but recovering Dylan's skull on November 1st, 2015 on Middle Mountain was a critical piece for us. Quote, "This is about getting it right and doing justice for Dylan, and sometimes that takes time," Champagne said. He confirmed he plans to file formal charges of second-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death. According to the state statute, Redwine faces 16 to 48 years in prison if convicted of either charge. Smith said no stone was left unturned in the investigation. Smith and Champagne shared few specifics about the case, both citing the need to preserve the integrity of the investigation. They declined to answer questions about possible motives, cause of death, whether they recovered any weapons that may have been used, whether previous grand juries were impaneled to hear the evidence, and the nature of compromising photographs of Redwine that had been revealed. Champagne did say the photos are certainly a point of contention between Dylan and his father, which is why it was included in the indictment. "We think it's an important part of the case and an important part of the probable cause analysis that supports the charges." The officials addressed a room full of media organizations in addition to Dylan's mother, several friends, and community supporters. Champagne said the case has generated great interest in our community, but despite the high profile, he hopes to hold a trial locally. Redwine is being held on $1 million cash-only bail in a Washington detention center. He's scheduled for an extradition hearing August 17th, at which time Redwine will waive or contest extradition to Colorado. During Tuesday's news conference, Sheriff Smith said investigators did not tell Mark Redwine they had recovered Dylan's skull, and he doesn't know if Redwine has learned about the skull. Full statements Smith and Champagne made to the press at the news conference are online at DurangoHerald.com.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, Dolores State Bank recently donated $1,500 to the Mancos community in response to the Western Excelsior mill fire. At the beginning of July, the bank gave checks for $500 each to the Mancos Fire Protection District, Mancos Pay It Forward, and Mancos Food Share. Mancos Pay It Forward and Mancos Food Share have been offering food and financial help to the families of more than 100 people who lost their jobs when the business burned down on May 8th. Several fundraiser events in and around Mancos, most recently a film festival on July 15th, have benefited these and other nonprofits in the area. The directors of the Dolores State Bank know what the loss of a business such as Western Excelsior does to a small community. The bank's assistant vice president, Shauna Valdez, said in a statement on July 18th. Dolores State Bank has served customers in Montezuma County since it opened in 1959, but it opened its first Mancos branch in 2015 after buying the Mancos Valley Bank building. Valdez wrote in her statement that the bank directors consider themselves part of the Mancos community and want to help with the aftermath of the fire as much as possible. The Mancos Board of Trustees and the Montezuma County Board of Commissioners both declared the Western Excelsior fire an economic disaster earlier this month and are in the process of applying for federal assistance for affected businesses.
From the Durango Herald, impact fees can help pay for new fire stations and vehicles, but they would likely increase housing costs in an already high-cost real estate market in Durango. It is a very tough discussion to have in the county because people are really very sensitive to anything that raises cost to homes. La Plata County Commissioner Brad Blake said Tuesday at a joint city and county meeting with Durango Fire Protection District. The DFPD Chief Hal Dottie told the Durango City Council and the La Plata Commission that fees assessed on new residential and commercial construction would help pay for the fire and emergency medical services those areas will require. The fees would apply to construction within the fire district, which covers 325 square miles, including Durango and areas along U.S. Highway 550. Developers would pay $988 per home and $1.44 per square foot for commercial buildings. Over the next 30 years, the district expects to need $54 million for fire stations, a training facility, and new vehicles, among other needs. If the city and county do not approve impact fees, the entire community would likely have to pay for fire department services in new areas. San Juan County Commissioners approved the fees 2 weeks ago for construction mainly in Cascade Village, which is within DFPD's service area. The district would not charge the impact fees in San Juan County unless the city and county also approve them. There are several areas in the county that already have fire impact fees, including Edgemont, Three Springs, Twin Buttes, and areas around Purgatory. For all other areas of the fire district, the fees would be an additional cost for developers. As the cost of new housing rises, it also boosts the value and price of existing homes. Affordable housing is a growing issue in La Plata County. Mayor Dick White said both boards will hold formal public hearings about fees before voting on the issue, but he said he supports them.
According to the Cortez Journal, the Durango Adult Education Center is partnering with schools in Montezuma County to provide GED and English as a second language classes in Cortez and Mancos starting Monday, August 28th. Classes will be held in Cortez at Southwest Open School and in Mancos at Southwest Colorado Community College. On-site childcare will be available during evening classes. English as a second language classes will be August 15th through 17th, and GED high school equivalency classes will be August 21st through 24th at Southwest Open School. For more information, call 564-7004 or visit durangoadulted.org. The Durango Adult Education Center fills educational gaps by providing the skills and knowledge necessary for livable wage careers, post-secondary education, and social and economic mobility. For more information, call 970-385-4354.
From the Cortez Journal, an audit of the Conservation Easement Tax Credit Program found the Division of Real Estate was failing to meet statutory obligations and was spending money it didn't have without clearly showing what benefits the program brought to the state and taxpayers who fund it. The audit was completed in December. A conservation easement is generally when landowners agree permanently to not develop land in return for a tax credit that they can either use themselves or sell to third parties at a discounted price. An easement is passed along with the deed to the land should it change hands. Marcia Waters, director of the Real Estate Division, said the division was failing to meet a 120-day turnaround requirement on conservation easement applications. Waters said it is difficult for the division to commit to a set deadline for application turnaround because of the varying quality of documents it receives and the questionable requests that come in. Non-credible and low-quality applications require additional workload for staff to ensure they meet the criteria for an easement, she said. Waters added that her division is resetting its fee structure to cover operating expenses and working to ensure applications for easements are approved only if they meet one of the 4 conservation purposes. The program is scheduled for a review of the 120-day deadline that could result in a legislative measure to remove it. Some members of the Legislative Audit Committee questioned the value of protecting these lands versus developing them. But Senator Carrie Donovan, a Democrat from Vail, said it's because of a misconception that conservation parcels are non-productive land that, quote, just sit there as pretty trees. These lands can still be used in multiple ways that contribute to the state's economy, Donovan said. Colorado State University conducted a study to gauge the return on investment from conservation easements. According to that study, Colorado has invested roughly $1.1 billion in tax credits and received at least $5.5 billion in return from non-development-based uses of the protected land.
According to the Cortez Journal, an audit of Connect for Health Colorado found the state healthcare exchange has made strides to become financially self-sufficient since 2014, when it was last audited, but needs to evaluate its policies and procedures to ensure they are being followed by staff. According to the audit, the state-run marketplace for health insurance, created in response to the Affordable Care Act, cut expenses by $18.5 million between 2015 and 2017 through renegotiating contracts with carriers and reducing administrative expenses. The exchange also generated $16.2 million in new revenue by raising fees on insurance companies that sell coverage through the state exchange in 2017. Connect for Health estimates a surplus of $2.6 million in 2017 as a result of the cuts and revenue increases, according to the audit. The surplus is expected to be used to backfill a shortfall of $1.5 million in 2018, but Connect for Health is expected to generate a small surplus in 2019. These projections could impact Congress, which is expected to make significant changes to the Affordable Care Act. While the outlook for the state exchange's financial stability looks good, there were a number of issues in implementing financial policies. A number of contracts totaling $3.99 million were not approved in accordance with Connect for Health's policies, including one for $2.9 million that was signed by an employee who was not authorized to execute contacts, according to the audit. The state auditor suggested Connect for Health update its policies to reflect the process management and staff are expected to follow. The audit says the exchange needs to improve the way it handles appeals and complaints. In 2016, 385,200 tickets were filed with call centers for Connect for Health. There were 153 appeals, a third of which were not handled in the required 90-day period, and 22 complaints. The number of complaints is misleading since policy requires any complaints be mailed to Connect for Health. Kevin Patterson, CEO of Connect for Health, acknowledged that it needed to update the complaint policy. And now, here's our weather report.
Rain reported yesterday from the west end of the county was at 4/10, and that increased as it moved eastward to the point that Dove Creek had 1.4 inches. A real rain, magnificent cleaning of the air and settling of the dust, and no hail has yet been reported to us. Yesterday's National Weather Service 7-day had dropped late week moisture down a lot, and yet the fine print left room for what is online today. That is that scattered showers and thunderstorms have chances Thursday and Friday afternoons, with all-day chances increased for Saturday. Sunday's chances are expected to be in the afternoon, and the trend may continue into Tuesday of next week. Temperatures forecast for the period have been reduced a few degrees accordingly for the daytime highs. An upper ridge across the south central states will help keep the region hot and, for the most part, dry. A series of disturbances will lead to organized thunderstorms each day, with a threat moving from the middle Mississippi Valley toward the mid-Atlantic during the next 24 to 48 hours. Bouts of severe weather are expected there as well, and there is an increasing potential for flash flooding, particularly in locations which have seen recent rains. The most prone locations would likely be around the tri-state area bounding Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin, where there has been significant rain for the last 7 days already. Across southern Iowa and northern Missouri and central Illinois, 2 to 3 inches are expected through Friday morning. Cloud cover should keep temperatures about 5 to 10 degrees below average. An upper ridge centered across the southern plains will steer monsoonal moisture out of the subtropical Pacific into the Four Corners area. This would take aim at the higher terrain of the southern and central Rockies, where flash flood threats still or will exist, particularly in the canyons. As usual, much of the initial thunderstorm activity should congregate across local mountains before migrating toward the valley floors. Temperatures ranging from mid-90s to around 100 degrees are the makings of heat advisories from eastern Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and eastward into sections of Arkansas, Missouri, and western Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee. The hot spot in the nation, though, will continue to be in its usual location, the desert southwest, with readings approaching 110 degrees for the next couple of days. In our 5-day forecast, high temperatures over the next 5 days have been reduced from yesterday in the lower 80s toward the mid-80s, and that should be accurate. The lows are still set in the upper 50s, also likely to be accurate. More scattered showers and thunderstorms through the week and weekend and into next week will be the order of business. The amount of moisture in these upcoming storms could increase as the weekend approaches, so be watchful for that, and we hope you have a great one. Now back to the news.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, an arroyo and small stream flood advisory remains in effect until 10 p.m. Tuesday for northwestern Dolores, northwestern San Miguel, and northwestern Montezuma counties. Heavy rain due to thunderstorms passed over the area earlier this evening, according to the National Weather Service, and local law enforcement officers reported water running across Colorado Highway 141 north of Dove Creek. Arroyo and small stream flooding will continue over the advisory area because of the rain. Some locations that will experience flooding include Dove Creek, Slick Rock, Cajon, and Egner. This includes U.S. Highway 491 in between mile markers 48 and 68, and Colorado 141 between mile markers 1 and 34.
While afloat on or while flying over an ocean, you'd think water, water everywhere, water. You might not think most of it's filled with plastic. Discovery of a new, massive amount of plastic floating in the South Pacific, recently discovered by Captain Charles Moore, founder of the Algalita Research Foundation, a non-profit group dedicated to solving the issue of marine plastic pollution. Moore was the first one to discover the famed North Pacific garbage patch in 1997. This new zone of plastic pollution could be upwards of 1 million square miles in size. 91% of plastic is not recycled. The team is currently processing their data and weighing the plastic so they can get a handle on how much garbage they've discovered in an area off the coast of Chile and Peru. The pieces of plastic are not necessarily floating bottles, bags, and buoys, but tiny pieces of plastic resembling confetti, making them almost impossible to clean up. These microplastic particles may not be visible floating on the surface. They were detected after collecting water samples on a recent 6-month expedition to the South Pacific Gyre. In 2011, Marcus Erickson, marine plastic expert and research director at the Five Gyres Institute, did not spot much plastic. In only 6 years, according to the new data collected by Moore, things have changed drastically. Henderson Island, located in this South Pacific region, was recently crowned the most plastic polluted island on Earth. Researchers discovered it is covered in roughly 38 million pieces of trash. The problem of plastic pollution is becoming ubiquitous in the oceans. 90% of seabirds consuming it, and over 8 million pounds of new plastic trash finding its way into the oceans every year.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, research on 202 former football players found evidence of a brain disease linked to repeated head blows in nearly all of them, from athletes in the National Football League, college, and even high school. It's the largest update on chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, or a debilitating brain disease that can cause a range of symptoms including memory loss. The report doesn't confirm that the condition is common in all football players. It reflects high occurrence in samples at a Boston brain bank that studies CTE. Many donors or their families contributed because of the players' repeated concussions and troubling symptoms before they died. There are many questions that remain unanswered, said lead author Dr. Anne McKee, a Boston University neuroscientist. How common is this in the general population and all football players? It's also uncertain if some players' lifestyle habits, alcohol, drugs, steroids, diet might somehow contribute, McKee said. Dr. Monroe Cullum, a neuropsychologist at UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, emphasized that the report is based on a selective sample of men who were not necessarily representative of all football players. He said problems other than CTE might explain some of their most common symptoms before death: depression, impulsivity, and behavior changes. He was not involved in the report. McKee said research from the brain bank may lead to answers and an understanding of how to detect the disease in life, while there's still a chance to do something about it. Currently, there's no known treatment. The strongest scientific evidence says CTE can only be diagnosed by examining brains after death, although some researchers are experimenting with tests performed on the living. Many scientists believe that repeated blows to the head increase risks for developing CTE, leading to progressive loss of normal brain matter and an abnormal buildup of a protein called tau. Combat veterans and athletes in rough contact sports like football and boxing are among those thought to be most at risk.
From the Denver Post out of Window Rock, Arizona, the Navajo Nation has created a committee to look into buying Colorado ranch land that's home to cattle, bison, and 2 mountains the tribe considers sacred. The price tag for the property, roughly 26 square miles on the Wolf Springs and Boyer ranches in south central Colorado, is $23 million. The 2 sacred mountains are Big Mountain Sheep, Obsidian Mountain or Mount Hesperus, and Cisnagini, commonly known as White Shell Mountain or Blanca Peak. Navajo Nation President Russell Begay believes the purchase would make the tribe's citizens whole, the Gallup Independent reported. Wolf Springs Ranch, the whole thing, is listed for $49 million, is described as one of Colorado's largest ranches and is nestled under the high peaks of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. The ranch has 200 head of cattle and more than 300 head of bison that the tribe could use to expand its beef business and produce bison meat, which sells for about double the price of beef, Begay said.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of July 17th through the 23rd. A family member requested a welfare check after attempting to call without an answer for a couple of hours on a day they usually spoke on the phone together. A deputy responded and learned that the person was fine but having telephone issues. A resident reported a scam whereby a prospective buyer of a vehicle offers to pay extra money if the seller sends money via MoneyGram. Due to diligence, the reporting party did not lose any property or money, but wanted to report that they knew about them. The party was what they knew about them. The party was referred to make official reports with both the FTC and the FBI. If you are in doubts as to any deal too good to be true, or if you believe you have been scammed, please contact the Sheriff's Office for assistance. A Rico resident reported a bull wandering on Highway 145 in Montezuma County. Dispatch contacted Montezuma County and Colorado State Patrol on behalf of the caller. Several residents contacted the Sheriff's Office regarding clarification of burn restrictions throughout the county and on public lands. A deputy responded to a resident's request for an emergency message to be delivered to a family member. A resident reported a suspicious vehicle on a county road. A deputy investigated and found that the driver was resting. The driver was given a suggestion for a safer location to rest. A motorcyclist collided with a deer outside of Rico, initiating a multi-motorcycle crash. 7 people were involved in the crash in total. Rico Rescue and Telluride ambulances transported 4 patients, and a helicopter flew 1 patient to Durango with serious injuries. A deputy opened an investigation for a report of a break-in to a home while the owners were away. A domestic disturbance was reported in Rico. Rico Rescue and a deputy responded to the situation. A town business requested the assistance from Animal Control for a dog at large. That's it for this week's Roundup. Stay tuned for continuing updates.
Today's High Canyon Country happenings. Five Branches Camper Park at Vallecito Lake plans to host Wolfwood Refuge on August 5th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Lunch will be served at noon, followed by an educational talk at 1 p.m. The event is free, but a $5 donation for lunch is accepted. Families are encouraged to meet the wolves. The visit will be Trinity's last visit to Vallecito. The wolves visited the Mancos Public Library in June. Wolfwood is a state and federal licensed rescue facility for wolves and wolf dogs and is home to 61 animals. In addition to rescuing animals, Wolfwood provides opportunities for more than 60 different organizations a year, including local schools, to meet the wolves, do service projects, and learn about animal behavior. Five Branches is located at Vallecito Lake at 4677 County Road 501A. And this week is the annual Mancos Days celebration. Thursday evening is a flag football game. Then Friday, July 28th, the annual Kids Parade starts at 9 a.m., followed by the Kids Game at Boyle Park Friday at 11. Over both Friday and Saturday, there's a fun run, volleyball and softball tournaments, a classic car show, horseshoe tourney, disc golf tournament, adult games, and a square dance from 2 to 3 p.m. on Saturday. Live entertainment and a barbecue dinner and silent auction is also Saturday from 5:30 to 7 p.m., topped off by a sock hop at the Opera House from 8 till midnight. Sunday, the 30th, softball continues. A kids' rodeo starts at 9 at the Robbins Arena, horseshoe tournament, and then Cattleman's Ranch Rodeo at noon, with water fights from 1 to 4 p.m. Phew, sounds like a tremendous celebration of the heritage of Mancos. For all the details, visit their Facebook page at Mancos Colorado Days. All of these happenings are posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the YouTube replays, weather, and original stories and local posts. To share your event or information, contact us. The email is dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station at 677-4119 and we'll be sure to get your news on air.
Thanks for tuning in. News at Noon airs live at noon Monday through Wednesday, then rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m., and again re-aired Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the same order at noon, 3, and 6.
And be sure to check out our Facebook page. It's DCTV News at Noon. Please like us there and share it with a friend.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.